All right. Electricity. To understand electricity, you have to understand the basics of the atom. You have protons, neutrons, and electrons. A proton has a positive charge. Neutron is neutral, so it has no charge. Electrons are negative. Now you have multiple scenarios of these particles when they are interacting with each other. If you have two protons interacting, you have repulsion. If you have a proton and a neutron, they do not interact. There's no repulsion nor attraction. Two neutrons themselves have no interaction at all because there is no formal charge for them. Now continue on. If you have an electron and a neutron, you still have nothing. Double electron, you have repulsion. And then finally, you have the thing that you want the most. You have a proton and a neutron. You have attraction from this. Now also, you have factors of attraction. The first one being, you can say power or charge levels. Now in this scenario, you have a proton and an electron. Now the units will be arbitrary for this. If you have a power level of 5,000 for your proton, and for your electron, you have a power level of 4,000. That is a pretty strong charge. Now, if you're to compare it to one of a similar thing, but at least in quantitative value of 50 and 40, the 5,000 to 4,000 will hold a stronger attraction to each other as compared to the ones in the tens. Continue on, you have distance. If your proton and electron are 1 micrometer apart, they are pretty close in proximity. This is in comparison of 1 kilometer. So, if you're 1 micrometer apart from each other, you will be quite attractive to each other. You consider this as a long-distance relationship. Most of the time, statistically speaking, long-distance relationships do not work out. Now you have the premise of a conductor. Conductors are metals and other various alloys and other types of materials that allow electrons to flow through. Now, due to this, you have the flow, you lead to friction. Friction can lead to heat. Your heat leads to the rise of temperatures. Now the general rule is the higher the temperature, the higher the resistance. Now if you recall, resistance is the lack or the ability of a material to allow electrons to pass through it. Now the opposite could be said is the lower your temperature, the lower the resistance. Now the idea behind this is something known as a superconductor. Superconductors, guys, you introduced different scales of measurement for temperatures such as Fahrenheit, Celsius, Kelvin. Fahrenheit has no value here. The difference between Celsius and Kelvin is 273. Now, if you were at 0 degrees Celsius, you are at 273 degrees Kelvin. Now, finally, when you reach 0 degrees Kelvin, if possible, you have negative 273 degrees Celsius. 0 degrees Kelvin is considered to be absolute zero. Now this is the general idea behind a superconductor. The lowest the temperature can achieve, the minimal resistance. In this case scenario, optimally speaking, you can have 100% of electron flow, which means no resistance at all. Now in reality, you cannot have anything beyond 100. So, speaking hypothetically, if somehow you can achieve -1 degree Kelvin, you will still have 100% electron flow. So in reality, there is nothing beyond perfection when it comes to superconductors. Now going back to resistors, the first type you have is a serial. This was the squiggly line in a circuit. And also you have the second type of a parallel. Parallel means you can have multiple resistors working in conjunction with each other. Now you have the idea behind voltage, current, and resistance. This serves premise behind Ohm's law. Now the actual equation of Ohm's law is written as V I R, but it is easier to understand it as VCR. The only difference is you have the replacement of the I for the C. Now the V stands for voltage. The C or the I can stand for current, and then the R stands for resistance. Now going back with these three, voltage, short script can be written as V or volts. Current is amps or A, and resistance is the omega symbol or ohms. Now going with a basic circuit. If your circuit has a power source with a voltage of 20 and you have one serial resistor that delivers 15 ohms,